Evening, everyone. You are watching Montgomery County Republican Club's Direct Line Show. Our special guest tonight is Anne Arundel County GOP Vice Chairman, Deputy Director of the MDGOP, and candidate for Clerk of the Court in Anne Arundel County, Jason Trott. Welcome, Jason. And our hosts tonight are Mark Unkefer and Jackie Saxton. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Dwight. See, every time he starts with good, I wake up a little bit more,
those openings that Dwight does, I'm never in the course of a week do I see him more animated than he is when he introduces our guests. But
there's no better time than 7:30 on a Wednesday.
Exactly. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start out with the really obvious question coming from somebody who's, despite being involved in the local politics for a little bit, still a little stupid on some of the local stuff. Can you please tell me what the clerk of the court does?
Sure, I can go into a little bit. The clerk of the court, in short, it does a lot. But I'll try to give you the brief version. It's a constitutionally mandated office. All 24 or 23 counties, and Baltimore City has one. They do a different amount of work depending on which county they're in. The bigger ones obviously have a bigger workload. Smaller counties have a smaller workload. It's one of the oldest offices in the state. It goes all the way back to the first settlement in St. Mary's County, I believe, back in the 1600s. But in short, in today's modern world, they enter all of the different court documents that are brought into court, civil and the different criminal court documents that go in. Pretty much everything you see on everything you would see on judiciary search when you're going to look up, your neighbor or whatever, somebody you're going out on a date with or something. They maintain all of the marriage licenses, so they grant marriage licenses in every county, and they perform some of the weddings. They swear in all of the some of the judges, assistant state's attorneys, police officers, sheriff's deputies, appointments made by the governor, members of the county council, the mayor of Annapolis in Anne Arundel County, and then ones in other counties too, the other, I guess, municipalities as well. I don't think I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but that's kind of the broad.
Yeah, it sounds like a full-time job. So is that a paid position as well?
It is a paid position. And it is a full-time job.
I should hope so. It sounds like a lot of records, I'm sure, come in.
There are probably some people that you should be screening, right? But you don't really get to do that. You can't say that, gee, you shouldn't get married. You're not, trustworthy enough, right? You just have to.
You can see here you've cheated on your last 3 girlfriends.
It's like, sorry, Jason. We don't mean to put any additional burdens on it because, of course, that's not what the clerk does. The clerk's job is to be the custodian of the records, and
he'll be right there to sign the divorce papers in a couple months. It's fine.
Right. That must turn you into a profit center for Anne Arundel County, collecting all those fees.
Yep, there's a lot of fees and a lot of different dues that you collect. I've heard from a couple of lawyers that I've talked to in the county that apparently our current clerk, who's a Democrat, has instituted a few new fees that were not present under the last clerk who held the office for about, I think, 16 years. So there is a little bit of there's a few people upset, I guess, about that, mostly lawyers, but as Republicans, we don't ever want new fees, just like how Governor Hogan's been trying to slash fees across the state. So,
well, I guess that's one of my next questions is where do political leanings come into play in this role, right? So fees obviously is one of them, but what other politically minded decisions do you have to make in that role?
So basically a lot of my research that I've done and the few people I've talked to, a lot of people argue that, so there's some people who argue that it shouldn't be an elected office or a partisan elected office, because a lot of people think that it's more of a service position. Mm-hmm. You're not voting on anything. You're not making any sort of like executive political type decisions like a county executive would or something like that. I mean, even things at first when I, first started thinking about it, I was like, because in some courthouses there's still mask mandates, but then there weren't mask mandates in other buildings. And I was like, I wonder who makes that decision. Is it the clerk or is it not? And it's actually not. It's the chief administrative judge. So there's not very much political, I guess, politics decision making that goes into it, but it's still a partisan elected office. It still goes through the same stuff that, you know, somebody running for county executive or sheriff or anything else would get. So
interesting. So what made you decide that you wanted to run for this role?
You know, I just talked to friends and family and a couple of people that, you know, or I sort of look to as mentors in the party. And I kind of asked, you know, some of the other people who were running for office in our county, you know, what could I do to kind of help out? And, you know, the big goal, you know, working for the state party and being the vice chair of the Central Committee, number one goal, we set it 4 years ago, is to get Stuart Pittman out of office and elect a Republican to county executive. So I think, you know, I'll go door knocking all across the county. I'll be like, hey, vote for me, and hey, vote for, you know, Jessica Hare or whoever is our nominee for county executive for sure.
Now, full disclosure, of course, we had Jessica on last week, and we're certainly branching out to do all things Anne Arundel County. And you really do have a great opportunity to be able to pick up. So, of course, there had been a Republican county executive who was defeated in 2018 in the Democratic sweep. And there's a lot of dissatisfaction with Anne Arundel voters for Stuart Pittman. So there's a great opportunity to switch that, and also to flip the Republican to the county council back to be Republican again. So certainly you have the potential of being part of, how shall I say, a wave that reverses what happened in 2018. Now, as I recall, the clerk prior to 2018 was Republican, right?
Yeah, it was Bob Duckworth, and I believe he served from, I don't know if he started in 98 or 94, but I'd have to go look it up. But I think we won the office in 1990. A Republican did, and then we won every election since then until 2018. And actually, Bob Duckworth, he ran in 2014 unopposed. He got 100% of the vote. So
that's a high bar that you have to meet there.
That's true. You know what? I hope I get. I would take 99% of the vote. You know.
Look, you didn't say 102% of the votes. That's good.
Yeah. We'll leave that for Putin. All right.
Yeah, the living and the dead and the undead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so, you know, I think that's a good transition into your other role, right? Your day job doing work for the state party. And obviously everybody across the country was really excited to see what went on in Virginia and even New Jersey last year. I still think that truck driver guy is my hero in New Jersey.
He's my hero too. I'd love to meet that man.
Yeah. So what is the state party's perspective? Are we all excited going into 2022? What kind of strategy can you share with us that we're looking into?
Well, I mean, you know, the number one thing is that we want to keep the governor's office. You know, we've won the past 2 governor's elections. We've won 3 out of 5. We'd like to make it 4 out of 6. Hopefully we can get a good candidate nominated and then get them through the general election. Hopefully all those Democrats, beat the crap out of each other for the next 6 months, or not 6 months, 4 months. Still think it's the beginning of January. And they come out limping out of the primary, and whoever we have comes out strong, and hopefully we can just run a good campaign and get them elected. After that, I would say the next big target would be these county executive seats that we've lost or never had. In the case of Frederick, we really want to win Frederick County, get Mike Huff elected. I think that would really mean a lot to them, because I think if they continue down the path they're going to become a lot like Montgomery County, and it's going to be, overcrowded and high taxed. And then we have Anne Arundel County, which I think we're in prime position to win that. And then over in Howard County, with former county executive Kittleman running again, I think we have a great candidate, great chance. Other than that, there's a few key legislative races that I think we could probably make a difference in. One of them is in Anne Arundel County. I think it's 33 I think it's 33C is the newly drawn. So they took District 33, which was already purple, and they chopped it up into 3 districts. One that's like leans a little bit Republican, but kind of in the middle. One that's like right in the middle, and then one that's pretty blue. But that one that's right in the middle, that's where Delegate Heather Bagnall lives. So we have to have a good candidate there and try to win that seat. I think that'll probably be the tightest race in the state, I would guess. But then there's a few other seats in other places. I think can't remember off the top of my head that new map, and I've seen so many different maps. We have the seat in St. Mary's County, which is pretty much the same as it is now. It's the one that Brian Crosby holds. He's a Democrat. Deb Ray had it before him, and she's running again. But yeah, there's not as many legislative seats as we'd like to play with, because that horrible LRAC map they passed. But the ones that we think are winnable, we'll definitely support. And you have Reed Novotny, who's going to be running for Senate and partially in Montgomery County now. I heard Dwight Patel has multiple Senate candidates lined up there. So we want to have a candidate in every district. So
absolutely. Yeah, and I do want to call out a couple of the other county executive races. You have Danielle Hornberger running, and then you have Julie Giordano running in Wicomico County. So definitely, I think county exec, you're right. We're going to see a great year for our county exec candidates.
I will grab you on that. Danielle Hornberger's good. She doesn't have to run this election. She they go presidential, so she gets some time off. She can go help her husband get elected delegate, exactly. I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a never-ending election in that family.
Obviously disappointing, but not surprising with the LRAC maps. And I know that there are a couple of lawsuits that have been filed already. Can you speak a little bit on that? Are you feeling optimistic about what's going to happen there? Or, I know it's a hard battle to fight. Is there anything that the people watching can do to get involved in that and help us to hopefully get the governor's maps in there somehow?
I talked to a guy who wanted to try to see what he could do about it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know, other than that they're going to decide it in court. I don't know what me or you or Mark could go down there and do. But, I guess all we can really do is hope that the court makes the right decision. Everybody likes to point out that all the judges on the Court of Appeals were, what is it? How many is it, Mark? Is it 7?
It's a majority. So that really is the status right now. So you gotta kind of, on one hand, there is language in the state constitution that the court could look at, and so that would be a Maryland specific challenge to the maps that would perhaps provide grounds and would reflect.
Right, and I think that's kind of what you've seen. I think that's kind of what we've seen Democrats do in Republican-controlled states like North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Now they've overturned the map. So I guess right now is that we're hoping for the best. But when I talk to people, I'm like, expect the bad map, but hope for the good map. That's all we could really do. I feel like at this point, and just raise money.
Yeah, it's also true that if the court does take it up, we don't know precisely what the remedy would be, whether they would force modifications to basically the legislative map, or alternatively use the Hogan or the bipartisan commission as the map to go forward, which it just, for anybody looking at it, it frankly makes more sense. It's less squiggles and
less time as well. Instead of saying, legislator, you need to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
Just saying, well, we have perfectly good maps already. Let's just use those.
So we have an alternative there. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
And Arundel County gets really divided up. I think, Montgomery County had for a number of decades 8 districts. It now, as you mentioned, has a couple of precincts, and forgive me, I think it's 9, which is, you mentioned, the Reed and Botany, but Anne Arundel County is really kind of chopped like in a very strange way.
Yeah, so District 30, which is where I live, stayed pretty much the same. Annapolis, it contains Annapolis, and Annapolis actually lost some population, I think, over the past 10 years. But then parts in the middle of the county and over in West County gained population. The parts that border, PG Howard County, and then the Severna Park, Arnold, area around the Bay Bridge gained a little bit of population. So they really reconfigured District 33, which had, 3 close delegate races and a close Senate race last time. They really worked that around, and I think their plan was that, maybe we'll win it this time, but I think they're hoping that it continues to grow and not grow our direction, and that in 4 years or 8 years, it'll be a pretty blue district. I hope that's not what happens, but just based on how they drew it, that's kind of what I assume their thought process was into that. And then another major change we had a 31A and a 31B, single member, 2-member. They combined all that. They moved Rachel Munoz, our new delegate, from 33 into 31. I assume, I don't have any inside information, but I assume that they were afraid that she was going to run and beat Heather Bagnall. So they stuck her in a Republican vote sink and, put her with the rest of the deep red Republicans in Pasadena. 32 remained mostly the same. It's still a tough district. But then the biggest change was that they gave us a new senator. We now share a district with Howard County, District 12, which is represented by Clarence Lamb. And there was a guy at the District 32 club meeting I went to last night. I don't remember his name, but I like the way he put it. He just stood up. He said, "That guy is left of Karl Marx." But yeah, and so that's going to be a tough district. Really, what we have to focus on there, I guess, is more of they did split the delegate district. So there's 2 delegates over here in Howard County, and there's 1 over here in Anne Arundel County. So that's kind of the seat that's held by Ned Carey now, who represents 31A. And that's we're looking at trying to find some candidates there. We were talking about it before the show started. And I know the caucus is excited. The House caucus, they're really trying to find a good candidate to run there, because they think in this cycle with a good candidate, it could be a possible thing that we could win. And I would agree with that too. There's some good Republicans in that part of the county, but there's a lot of probably middle of the road folks. So.
Now, Jason, let me throw kind of a softball question. So if somebody's thinking about becoming a candidate, what exactly can the state party do to be helpful?
Well, we can certainly help you jump through the hoops that they've set up now to file. I got off the phone last night or 2 nights ago with somebody who wanted to run for council in Anne Arundel County, just trying to walk them through the different things you have to do. You have to, now you have to set up your finance entity and get a treasurer and all that stuff beforehand before you even go in the Board of Elections office. Depending on what office you're running for, you have to fill out some sort of ethics form. So that a lot of people probably need help with that, especially if they've got, a couple houses or whatever. And we can set you up with Delphi, which is our new voter platform, our well-liked voter platform. And that kind of just shows you who's in your district and, whose doors you need to be knocking on. You can pull different lists. And then we also have a walk app. Like, when does your campaign kick off and how can people send you money? I'll finish this question and then I'll get to that. But yeah, we also have a walk app. It's called Campaign Sidekick. It goes with Delphi. And
Dwight's insistent that you answer that question. I don't know.
I'm getting to it, Dwight. Don't. If anybody's watching, don't turn it off. I'll tell you, send me money in a minute.
It's like the Wizard of Oz. Behind the screen, there's this voice that's trying to.
Yes, a campaign sidekick.
Go ahead.
But so Campaign Sidekick, you could just target whose doors you want to go knock on, and really try to give you that tool so you can be organized when you go door to door. And of course, if somebody wanted to run and they hadn't talked to them yet, say they're running for delegate or senate, we can certainly put you in contact with the leadership in the House of Delegates and the state senate. That's no problem at all. What we don't offer, this is important too, because you know what? A lot of people will call and ask for this stuff. And I'll say what we don't offer. If you want a campaign office, we don't have it. If you want a dedicated paid staffer working on a campaign, we don't have it. I don't know, just a bucket full of money. Don't have that either. But yeah, you'd be surprised how many people run for Congress or anything. Usually it's Congress. And say like, what office space you got for me? And I'm like, none. So
my response would be, what multi-million donors do you have for me? And then we'll talk.
Right. How about you bring somebody to the table? We'll figure something out, But
we do also have some training resources that we can share with that will guide you through the process of raising enough money so that you can hire a staffer and right.
Right. We do. Yeah, we do some stuff, and then we have times where we go out to different counties and we'll set up a training and do some trainings with a couple groups of people. We had some earlier at the end of last year, and I think was it at the beginning of this year? I know it was definitely in the last year. We did one in Montgomery County where we kind of did one with Justin Reedy and Majority Strategies, just kind of about
right.
Different.
And
basically campaigns 101.
I know you guys also, as the state party, offer Super Saturdays after the primary. Can you talk a little bit about what goes into that process? If there are any candidates watching who want to hopefully bring one to where they are, what does that look like? And what kind of training goes in for the volunteers who want to come and knock doors?
Super Saturday, we usually don't do a whole lot of training the day of. Usually if you've come and you've never done it before, we'll just try to pair you up with somebody who has, and then you can kind of learn on the fly. Usually the candidate or the central committee, whoever's putting it together, they would contact us. I know in the past we've had a form that you filled out. We haven't kind of hashed that out this year, but I assume we'll do something kind of similar. And usually they'll do a phone call, kind of a conference call with Corinne and myself and Ryan if he's home from school, and whoever is involved on either in the campaign, whether it's a candidate or the people on the central committee, and our national committee woman Nicolette Ambrose, and we'll kind of just talk about what they want to do, and we just try to get people who wouldn't normally go door knocking for them to come out. Somebody, people from other counties or whatever.
For sure,
and that's really an important lesson that so many offices in Montgomery, in Maryland in general, door knocking can be a really effective tool to be able to make things work.
Yep. I mean, if you want to target a voter, the only way, you can send them as much mail as you want, and you can put ads on TV. But if you show up at their door and you talk to them, you definitely know that you either earned their vote or they don't like you, or you get some sort of response from them, and you can track that, and that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, someone slamming in the door in your face gives you a lot of information. Right?
Actually, what's interesting is having done a lot of door knocking and frankly in New York, where I kind of started doing this with petitioning. So the effort to get on the ballot in New York required going around and collecting a certain number of petition signatures. And even if you were running for precinct chair, the equivalent of precinct chair, you had to have, you had to qualify to get on the ballot to be able to do that. People will be relatively civil. They may disagree with you and tell you that, but I think that I guess I have more faith in people and their ability to respond. You get a negative answer, you just move on, and it's not a big challenge. I think sometimes candidates feel a little daunted about the fact that, there might be rejection in the process. And
right.
If you're going to be a candidate, you should probably get used to getting rejected at some point.
Well,
but I mean, most of the time, if they don't want to talk to you, they'll sit there through the glass door and they'll just go, no. And
Yep,
then that's it.
they'll let you
walk
know
away.
and you move on. I mean, one of the things that I think is always kind of important to understand about Canada, you really are not there to persuade them to change their mind. What you're really doing is, A, as your candidate, introducing yourself and what your vision and what your difference and, you know, how you're different from the other candidate, but B, figuring out areas where there's common overlap, where they, you know, have common cause. And so it's not as, how shall I say, in your face as an effort, except maybe once over, you know, 20, 30 times. It's not as hard as people make it out to be. I am aware of a candidate who I am familiar with who yesterday did his interview, I guess, not giving away the gender, giving away his interview with the teachers union. And although I would bet my entire retirement account that there is no chance whatsoever that he will be endorsed by said teachers union. He had a lot of fun doing that, I think it's fair to say. You know, because it's a chance to get your message out and take your position, and you know, and I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I mean, right now, I would say teachers unions probably aren't as popular as they used to be.
Right.
If you're watching this and you're a Republican thinking about running in Maryland, the odds that the teachers union endorses you are probably pretty low. They tend not to endorse Republicans, but
I think that actually was one of his questions. Now, I you know, again, I'm giving it away yet again by saying it's the gender, and then I'll reference Montgomery County, which narrows it down, and then I guess there's a subset of candidates who've actually filed in Montgomery County.
Are the teachers union interviewing Central Committee candidates?
Yeah, no. We're talking about an even smaller potential universe. But I do believe that one of his questions to them was, when was the last time you endorsed a Republican? I'm not sure I don't think any of them
19
have been alive.
What?
18.
18. Yeah. Back during Reconstruction. No, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've covered the gamut of topics. It's turning into a Dr. Politics episode now.
Right. No, I'm just raising. Yeah. Those
well, speaking of Dr. Politics, I'll go ahead and plug that the episode next week on the 18th is the Shamrock Shake episode. I've made a promise. I made a commitment that I would join that episode with my Shamrock Shake in hand.
Oh, you know what? We never actually did answer Dwight's question. When is your campaign kickoff, and how can people send you money?
Right.
The campaign kickoff is on February 28th. And it is at Glory Days in Edgewater, just the same place that our next Attorney General, Jim Shalek, is having his fundraiser 4 days before. So it is at the Glory Days in Edgewater. It is at 3 Lee Air Park Drive. I set the ticket price at $50 a head, but if you're bringing 2 people, it's only $75. And then there's a few sponsorships available, which we've gotten a couple in. So I feel pretty good about where we're at. We're raising a little bit of money, get things started. But yep, and if you want to get a ticket, the link is trott4clerk.com/kickoff22. And that'll take you right to the link to buy tickets.
So, but I assume because I noticed we got your URL down, trott4clerk.com. So if you go to the website, I'm sure you can figure that out.
It's right on the homepage. Yep.
Right.
Awesome. I don't know, Mark, what else you got? You got anything?
So we've talked about Anne Arundel County. What can you say about the race for county executive? Or because we do have a primary there. So
sorry, Mark, I lost you. My AirPods disconnected for a second. Could you say?
Yeah. What can you tell us about the Anne Arundel County executive primary?
Well, there are. Let me name the candidates. So there's Jessica Hare, member of the county council, my county councilwoman. She represents District 7. Mom, attorney, civil engineer. I think she's done a really great job on the council these past 3 years. She's raised quite a bit of money. I see Joy's little message. So she's one of the front runner candidates. Behind her, I would guess, is Herb McMillan. He was a former delegate and city council member in Annapolis. He represented District 30A, and then before that, the full District 30. He took 4 years off in 2018. And he's back in 2022 running the county executive primary. Other than that, those are kind of the two candidates towards the top. Then you have a guy named Chris John, who I don't think I've been at events with him, but I've never actually met him. He does some sort of business consulting things, according to the different news outlets that have reported it. And then there's a new guy named Fernando something.
He's really left an impact.
Fernando Berra, I guess how you say it. I don't know. He filed the other day. I haven't seen anything of his. Yeah, I don't know.
So
don't know at all. And then there's John Grasso too, former member of the county council. I haven't seen much from him. I don't know what he's up to, what he's doing.
So we have a question from Liliana, and I'll
now wait. We have to call her now officially an adult Liliana Norkaitis. She just turned 18.
Right. Go ahead. It's what predictions do you have with in regard to the red wave in Anne Arundel County?
Well, my optimistic outlook is if we're thinking that, if Anne Arundel County is really like a true, dead even county, it could go either way. Then I would say with Biden's numbers, which in the real clear politics average today just dipped below 40 for the first time. He's at like 39.7 or something like that. I would say that we are in pretty good position to have a red wave in Anne Arundel County. Well, everywhere, to be honest. But with that being said, the county, it's definitely changed a little bit over the past 4 years. There's new people who have moved in, some old people have moved out. So you can never fully predict, but I think we're in a good position to win a lot of elections.
Now I'll throw another question at you. Yesterday, Governor Hogan kind of put the rumors to rest, has decided, no, I'm not going to run for U.S. Senate. Do you think that there is a Republican currently residing here who could beat Chris Van Hollen in the Senate race?
In Anne Arundel County or just all
in general? In Maryland.
That's a great question. That's a very good question. That's going to be a tough race. I don't think there's any sort of, I don't think anybody's kidding themselves when it's going to be uphill for Republican. We haven't won since 1980. I think it was, or maybe we haven't held it since 1980 when we last won it in the 70s. I'm not sure.
80 was the last time we won. It was Mac Mathias's last run. It was in 86 is when he retired.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. That would be a tough election. I know some people have had some interesting things to say about the candidate field for Republicans at the moment. So
yeah.
Well, that was
I don't know.
a little before Liliana was born, right? 86.
That was a little before I was born.
Right. Jason, you got to say it was a little before you were born too.
Mm-hmm.
As the wire.
If you really want me to date it, that was the same year my mom was born. That actually kind of underscores the whole. It's been a while.
I actually do forget that I am older than Jason. I always
just
think
a little bit
for some reason. Yeah, I introduced him to slot machines. I'm very proud of that.
That is true. And now at every casino I go to, I make sure to get a rewards card as soon as I walk in to get that free play.
You can tell that Jackie is a New Jersey girl at heart still.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey girl, South Jersey girl, summers in Atlantic City.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions I have. I don't know. I guess the better question then is how big of a check do we need to write to Governor Hogan to get him to run for Senate? So
I don't think there's a check big enough, man. Well, and that could be a thing too. There might be a really great candidate who was out there there could be a great candidate who was waiting to see what Hogan did, and now they have to scramble in the next 2 weeks to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can't say I blame him. It's probably thinking along some of the lines as what Chris Sununu said, right? He's like, why the heck would I want to go to that like cesspool of angry people who are just gonna like be mean to me for the next 6 years when I could just retire and live a nice life with my family.
Right. So I mean, he'd walk in and he'd be like Joe Manchin right away. He would just be getting beat up by both sides all the time, and it probably wouldn't be fun for him. Though I would like one more vote for Mitch McConnell to be the majority.
So I was going to suggest that we turn to the congressional races and talk a little bit. Let's start with District 1 and Andy Harris, and how are the prospects for him under the new lines, and we'll talk about the other districts as well.
Well, so the first district and the LRAC maps, and I'm going to operate like those are what we're going to have, because that's worst case scenario. Under the LRAC maps, the first district went from being like Trump plus 20 to Biden plus a 0.25% or something like that. And really what it changed is he lost a lot of that, where it kind of hooked over into Baltimore County and Harford County, and they brought it across the Bay Bridge and gave him a lot of the blue parts of Anne Arundel County. They took him, through the Broadneck Peninsula, which is okay. That's a little purplish, but then they took him over to Odenton and Jessup, and that's a tough area, and there's a lot of votes over there. So I think the congressman will have to make a couple trips over the Bay Bridge. Well, he's probably gonna have to make a lot of trips over the Bay Bridge over the next year, and start campaigning probably quite a bit in Anne Arundel County. Now it's not a total, totally new for him. Under the old maps between, I guess 2002 to 2012, the first district crossed the Bay Bridge then too, and went into a little bit of Severna Park, but not quite as much of Anne Arundel County as it has now. But overall, I think his prospects are still good. I think the national environment and that kind of plays a lot more in congressional races. I think it'll be all right.
Sure. And in district, let's go across the state to Western Maryland and District 6.
Yeah, I mean, so Jackie brought up before the show that the RNC or the NRSC or whoever added it to their target list. We were NRCC. Sorry. We were even talking about this last night. I mean, it's not an impossible district. I think I pulled it up last night. I think it's the PVI on it. It's D+9, which in a year like this, Joe Biden's at 39% approval, kind of looking like it could be the same as sort of the reverse of 2018. On our side, we get a real big bump. I was saying last night, it could be a lot like the race from 2018 in the Oklahoma 5th district, which was based in Oklahoma City. There was an R+10 that we lost, and it kind of surprised everybody on election night. And if you get a good candidate, Dwight sent me messages saying Neil Parrott raised a lot of money, so that's great. And you never know, Neil could pull off an upset and be the next congressman for Western Maryland and parts of Montgomery County.
It's worth noting that this has been a competitive district in the past.
Mm-hmm.
As recently as I think it was 2014. So it was held by Republicans, obviously with a very different map through 2012. And in 14, Dan Bongino held the Democrat by 1,100 votes, but also held the Democrat to less than 50% of the vote. There was actually a third-party candidate that had some influence, and it really required the then incumbent to spend a lot of money in the last week. We obviously had good polling and sensed that things were not going well for him. And of course, that was 2014, which was very much a wave election, both nationally and obviously an election during which Larry Hogan was able to win. So in a similar environment like 2022, it really could be a very competitive race.
And hopefully the RNC decides to come in and help us out a little bit. That might be the bump we need to get us over the finish line.
Right.
That would be great. It never hurts to have more boots on the ground and more money in our pockets. So.
Well, the challenge for Neil, and Neil's doing really all the right things, is to make it competitive, to make it so that when they do the polling, they show it within, how shall I say, at least hailing distances, and that financially, Neil, and that's why it's so important that Neil's done so well raising money. That it makes it into a competitive thing. Now,
I do feel the need to point out, though, although the club has endorsed Neil, that it is a contested primary with Jonathan Jenkins also in the primary. And I know he's been really hitting the ground running as well with reaching out to people and going door to door. So definitely feel the need to bring up that there is still a primary there as well. But yeah.
We're conflicted there because we have two hats. So Jackie has her YR, we don't take a position in primaries hat, and the Montgomery County Club has taken.
Likes to take positions.
Here's the whole thing. This is when being virtual is a good thing. So Jackie and I, go ahead, Jackie. Let's duke it out. Jason can stand by and say, gee, this is not a race that the Anne Arundel County.
Yeah, not my race.
Not my race. Not my. Anyway.
I take the very diplomatic position, and I say this across the board with any races that we have coming up this year. Of I'm going to back whatever candidate wins the primary. What I do is as a leader in the Republican Party. So.
There you go. No, and
great position to take.
That's fair. That's certainly fair, and it's an appropriate point to make that there is a competition in the primary.
Yeah, and to all the races, I would say, as we're coming to a close, anyone who's watching, I do encourage that from people. I know even with the governor's primary as well, we have people who feel very strongly between a couple of the candidates running, and that what we should all come together to realize is regardless of who wins the primary, at the end of the day, we want to see Republican butts in seats. So we should back whatever candidates win their primaries.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Jason, anything else you want to plug? I know you plugged your fundraiser. Anything else you want to plug before we wrap up?
No, I mean, that's if in case you weren't here for the first half of the show, you're just catching it for the tail end. I have a fundraiser planned on the 28th. It's in Edgewater. It's at the Glory Days. $50, $75 if you bring 2 people. And the information is right below my head at trottforclerk.com. So yeah, if I would love to have everybody there. I expect to see Mark and Jackie there, since I did them a solid by jumping on the show. No, I'm kidding. But let's see. Oh, we do have a question from Maria. If you guys want,
take that. Sure, Maria.
So what do you guys think about the new congressional candidates emerging across the state, i.e. Bernie Flowers? I think Bernie Flowers is a pretty cool name. That's a cool name.
Yeah, I just saw some stuff about him. I guess yesterday it came off, and I think I looked at his website a little bit. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I mean, just from the brief kind of scroll through I did, he seemed like a good guy, a good candidate. I think he was a military guy, so that's always great to have.
I won't charge him for this advice. And when you go door to door, get some flowers, right? Like little paper ones or something, right?
He probably should incorporate flowers somewhere into that, because I don't know. I've seen Delegate April Rose, her logo and her sign's got a big old rose right in the middle.
You can have that one for free. Next one I charge for.
and I will say that has been again. I think it's fair to say a gimmick that Robin Ficker has used over the years, which is to take roses and hand them out. Now, he used to do it with just women, and so maybe he's had to clean up his act with
gotta be careful today, Mark.
Yeah, gender sensibilities that he's assuming. Anyway, we won't go down that road.
Now he hands out pennies.
Yeah.
Yes, now
Right.
he does. You know, those of us of a certain age who remember the flowers should probably suggest that Robin has gotten cheaper in his old age.
That's true. It's easier to hand out 2 pennies than it is a rose, especially in the Biden economy. You know,
Right. Okay. Well, there is a perfect note on which to end the Biden economy.
No, I'll go back to flowers for a second. I mean, it
Sure.
is Valentine's Day coming up this weekend, so let's end on that. Hopefully on Monday, everybody has a great Valentine's Day. You're all of our Valentines, and we will see you next Wednesday for another episode.